Thank you. Thank you very much, Tim, for sharing with us this summary of GSMA Intelligence Network API Developer Survey. Now, let's go with the conference where the rubber meets the road, how developers are shaping the future with network APIs. And for this, it's a pleasure to have, as a moderator, Mikko Jarva, Head of Portfolio and Architecture Network Monetization Platform at Nokia. But before, we will see a short video from Nokia, and then let's welcome them. Thank you very much.
Imagine a world where connectivity is not just a service, but a tool that developers can seamlessly integrate into their application to customize, optimize, and control network functions in real time. With network as code, you don't just use a network, you shape it. When your network becomes code, it doesn't just connect, it evolves. It responds in milliseconds. It adapts to demand. It turns connectivity into an interactive, automated experience driven by intelligence. At the heart of this transformation are network as code APIs that are simple, powerful, and designed for developers. These APIs unlock secure, programmable network functions, making it easier than ever to build and deploy services with just a few lines of code. And this is happening now. Businesses worldwide are embracing network as code. Drones with intelligent network connectivity, connected cars with real-time connectivity for smarter, safer driving. Remotely operated vessels with enhanced tracking and high-quality streaming at sea. Live broadcasting of events with uninterrupted, high-quality video feed, even in crowded network conditions. So what are you waiting for? Join our growing API ecosystem today.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mikko Jarva. I head the products and technology in Nokia's API business. And my mission is to transform the way that the networks are consumed and how the value is being created on top of the network, and through that way foster altogether an entire new type of experiences and applications which are not yet even possible or imaginable. Today we have a very nice panel coming up. We're going to talk about, of course, the network APIs. We're going to talk about the one of the main challenges for the network APIs, which is about encouraging demand while also building on the supply, and then all the conduits that you need to connect the supply and the demand, what are the standardization and open source initiatives in there. Then we're going to hear from our panelists about some of the toughest problems that they're solving, and then we're going to talk about the future. How do we see the future shaping and forming? And with that, I would like to welcome our panelists onto the stage. All right, welcome, and let's start with some introductions, maybe with Alex.
Yeah, hi everyone, I'm Alex Walling. I joined Nokia a couple of months back via an acquisition of Rapid API, which is the world's largest API marketplace. So I'm here to talk about the developer communities and ecosystem and how that can be applied to network APIs.
I'm En. I'm a CEO and co-founder of Elmo. We are retrofitting existing cars with our hardware and software, making them remotely controllable. And by the way, we are also the company behind the world first road legal teledriving technology. what has been in operations already 2.5 years in public roads.
I'm Andy Tiller. I'm an EVP with TM Forum. We're an industry organization which develops open standards and open source code and frameworks for the telecoms industry. My day job is product management for our open digital architecture, and that includes our Open API program, which is part of Open Gateway.
Hi, good afternoon to all of you. First of all, thank you for having me here, and thank you for your time to join us at this panel as well. My name is Boon Chee. I'm with Bridge Alliance. For those of you who are not very familiar, Bridge Alliance is essentially an alliance of mobile operators, mainly in Asia Pacific and a bit of Middle East. So what we do over time is really to look at how telcos have evolved. We started with roaming and looking at areas of synergy. And very recently, we have also started embarking on accelerating API exposure. So we'll talk a lot about it on the panel later. So I'll share a bit about some of the challenges we see in the market and how we also can support the developers better.
Okay, hi, this is Adnan Salim. I'm CTO Software and Cloud Solutions at Radisys. What Radisys is involved on this aspect is in the programmable communications and programmable network APIs. And we provide a platform where application developers can use the Engage Digital platform to create very complex and sophisticated applications, relying in making use of the Camaro APIs, as well as a lot of AI analytics capabilities built into the platform, along with programmable communications. And we have done some, beyond prototyping, real live world use cases and demos. If any of you are visiting the main MWC site, please come and visit us, and we can show you some live working demonstrations.
All right, so we have a very nicely varied panel in here presenting different parts of the ecosystem that come together to use consumer network APIs and then utilize them and creating new value on that one. Okay, so let's start talking about a little bit about the demand and supply equation of the network APIs. And you're doing something really, really interesting here in Barcelona. Can you tell a little bit more about that?
As I mentioned in my introduction, we are retrofitting existing vehicles, making them remotely controllable from a very far distance. So we control the cars parts and we control the station parts, but we literally depend on the network side. We are not providing the network, so if the network is bad, then we cannot teledrive. We cannot remotely control our vehicle. And what we are doing here, thanks to Nokia and GSMA, we are in 2 booths in the Congress. We are providing live teledriving for all visitors. One vehicle is 900 kilometers away in Malaga. We are doing that with thanks to priority network in less than 150 milliseconds. Average is 50 to 100 milliseconds. But we are doing also here a world record together because the second car is in Espoo, in Nokia's headquarters. So the new record is 3,400 kilometers distance, cross-border teledriving. And I think this was the thing what you mentioned, what fun we are doing. So yes, that's pretty fun, and to provide that opportunity to all visitors.
Right, and can anybody try it?
Yes, everybody can try it, that's the purpose.
That's really, really exciting. Adnan, you mentioned the Digital Engage platform. Can you tell a bit more about that and some of the use cases? Is there a demonstration of that, and what's the relation to network APIs?
Sure, yeah. So the Radisys Engage Digital platform, it really provides a combination of what we call programmable communications, what people can refer to that as CPaaS in general. So all communications APIs, communications SDKs that allow application developers to create fairly sophisticated communications-based applications from as you would imagine, from a traditional CPaaS perspective. The second sort of leg in that Engage Digital platform is the Camaro network APIs. When the network resources are needed, such as quality of demand is needed for a certain application use case, if it's video feeds that are coming in and you need to rely on the quality of network resources and bandwidth availability, or you need to look up the location of a device, or you need to get device status. So that part of the programmable networks is available in the Engage Digital platform. Sort of the third main leg in the platform itself is a lot of AI capabilities that are built into the platform. those AI capabilities cover kind of two domains. One is in the speech domain. So AI, what we call speech AI analytics. So you can think of that as natural language understanding, speech recognition. There's a lot of things that can be done in AI from a real-time audio perspective, but also AI analytics from a video perspective as well, which people would refer to that as maybe computer vision or machine vision. That means taking live video feeds coming from various locations of cameras and being able to analyze those for very specific patterns or objects or people or motions within the thing. Now those require a lot of inferencing and a lot of compute power. So for that thing, you will need to go and reserve the network bandwidth to make sure that if an important event has occurred, like if, let's say a fire broke out, we need to analyze that there's a fire occurred. You want to reserve now the network bandwidth and up the bit rate to make sure that that important event is not missed and dropped, and you have adequate amount of bandwidth available. So it's really, in summary, a combination of three programmable communications, programmable networks, the Chimera APIs, and all the group of AI capabilities.
Yeah. That's really exciting and nice to hear that there is actually need for developers on your platform and to use the network APIs for these capabilities. Boon, Bridge Alliance is widely operating and bringing partners and their capabilities into consumption for developers and other platforms. Can you tell a little bit about what kind of a demand you see in your market for it, and then how do you reconcile, the differences in the supply in your ecosystem?
Sure. Thanks for the question, Mikko. So I think, well, I'll share what we observe in the Asia market because that's where we are more familiar with. I think a lot of the use case today centers around authentication type, right? And this happens for, I think there are three key reasons. One, with the prevalence of fraud, the SMS spoofing, it calls for a need for a method that's a lot more secure, right? So thereby the demand for authentication API is what we see in the market. Some of them also, another reason why this is also taking shape is also companies are looking at way to optimize their costs, right? Today they may be paying, for various channels in delivering OTP, SMS, so they are looking for channels that are perhaps a bit more cost effective for them. I think the third reason would be really enterprise customers looking at way to enhance their engagement with customers. Because at the end of the day, if they do the network authentication, it's transparently done, there's no need for a two-factor authentication process. It makes the whole user journey a lot more seamless. Right? So I think that's what we see generally in the market, at least in Asia. And thereby, that drives a bit of the demand that we see, and that puts us in a position to expedite exposure from a telco's point of view. Because whilst the demand is there, it's also a challenge of how we want to speed up enablement. Right? So that's what we generally see. Yeah.
All right. And then, Andy, with TM Forum, and in general, it seems like that the standards and open source play actually quite a big role now on our network ecosystem initiatives like the GSMA Open Gateway, the MF Operate APIs, Chimera, and so forth. Can you tell a bit more about how important that is, and what is the role of TM Forum and other organizations to drive that, and how that help us to scale our ecosystem better?
Yeah, thank you, Mikko. That's actually, in one sense, a very easy question. Interoperability requires standards. You can't build an ecosystem with a lot of custom integration. So in Open Gateway, there are two important API standards. There are the service APIs, from number verification, quality on demand, and so on, that are used by developers to access network services. And those are developed by the Chimera project under Linux Foundation. The other APIs are the Operate APIs, which enable developer onboarding, product catalog, usage management, and so on. And these are, essentially, they turn the service APIs into products that can be monetized by the network operators. So those Operate APIs are developed in TM Forum's Open API program. So these two, I think it's very important that actually both sets of APIs are open source, developed by the industry for the industry. They're not specified by a small standards group somewhere in a dark corner. They're put to practical use. The other role that TM Forum has in this, well, two other roles. One is our proof of concept program, the Catalyst projects. This is where members build end-to-end use cases. So we've, for a number of years now, been demonstrating end-to-end use cases for advanced Camara APIs, such as quality on demand. And then underneath the bit of the iceberg hidden under the water is where the operators actually have to deliver these services from their networks. And that's where TM Forum's home turf for our open APIs is, the OSS systems, BSS systems, which enable these services to be exposed.
Right. Alex, thanks Andy. Alex, you come outside of a telco industry and you have experience actually building supply-demand API ecosystems as well. What would you think about is the good lessons learned that we should listen and take into account when we are building the telco API and network API ecosystems?
Yeah, definitely. So looking at the telco industry, I think that we have a huge opportunity here to capitalize on this investment that's been made into 5G APIs, anti-fraud APIs, like we're seeing in Asia. But I think there's a real need to look at the developer experience around these APIs and simplifying it as much as possible, because as developers, they don't want to really look behind the scenes into what's actually happening on the network. They want to focus on the applications they're building and the value they're deriving from these APIs. And I think there's a couple of ways that we can look at that. One is the documentation and making sure it's really clearly articulated how to get connected to these APIs using the SDKs and platforms that are out there within the telco industry. The other thing that we really look at is the pricing plans and making sure it's as easy to know what you're going to be paying for and make it as predictable as possible. And I think that's one of the challenges we see with network APIs right now is articulating to the developer the value that the network APIs are unlocking and how the pricing model reflects that.
There's some great insights for sure for us to take lesson from. Now looks like we are short on time, so I'm going to combine my last two questions into one, and I'm going to ask a combined kind of what's the kind of the biggest challenge that you see now, and then where we're going in the future. So maybe we start with Boon Chee. What do you have to crack in the future? What's the problem that you have to crack in your market?
Yeah,
what are the future needs and demands, and where you see it's going?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge, I would say there are two main ones from a telco perspective, right? One, it's really the speed to harmonizing something that's useful for the developers, right? Because each telco has their own nuances of how they implement network infrastructure, expose data, and so on. But to make it meaningful for developers, it can't be just a telco doing it on its own. It really needs that whole network effect of all telcos working together. So that's where we really come in to try to harmonize the exposure, and speed is of essence, because if you do it too slowly, the market doesn't wait, the market moves on with all other options out there in the market. So that's one big challenge. I think the other challenge that we have is really understanding how developers really work and think, right? To what Alex alluded to. Telcos are not exactly, historically they have not really been exposing a lot of APIs for developers' usage, right? So it's a journey that a lot of our member operators are embarking on. So we're learning as we are making them available. But having said that, there are certainly excitement out there, because there are a lot of data sets that telcos can expose and allow developers to leverage upon, right? So for example, in some of the markets that we're in, they look at how user behavior can be used to determine the creditworthiness of a customer, for example, right? Without, of course, anonymized data, but the movement pattern, does he commute daily between work and home? This shows the creditworthiness and whether this guy is, suitable for a loan application, for example. So there are a lot of use cases with data sets if telcos are prepared to offer. So I certainly see that it's a start of a long journey, but it's a marathon that we're going to run.
Thanks for that. Andy, about future, how do you balance innovation and what especially TM Forum does in that, how to drive innovation and then balance that with driving commonality and uniformity as well?
Yeah, it's a good question. I was just thinking how to combine that with the challenge, and I think we can address one of the perceived challenges, which is if we have this open set of standards and everybody is offering the same services, then does this reduce the telcos to commodities? And I think this is not the case. The standard actually enables innovation. First of all, because simplicity fosters innovation, but also because it makes a market. But perhaps particularly important, if you today are a network operator and you've launched your nice 5G standalone network, you can do network slicing and all kinds of things. Unless you have application developers creating applications which make use of that and make it meaningful to an end customer, it's irrelevant to them. So if you want to differentiate and innovate with your network, then you need the developers to provide applications which support those services. So imagine a cloud gaming provider is able to put a boost button on network A because it does provide quality on demand, but not on network B. There's a possibility for differentiation. Maybe the gamer eventually sees his friend with a boost button and wants the same for himself. Right. So I think, and as we evolve the networks, as we evolve services, Open Gateway is going to make that meaningful to end customers, and telcos will be able to differentiate on network services.
Thanks, makes sense. And how is Elmo driving towards the future? What are the big problems that you need to solve on the way? And then how do you see the future, especially in respect to connectivity and network APIs from your perspective?
Concerning the challenge, I was thinking about mentioning that, taking account that we are still in the very fast scaling startup phase, that we also need talents. But I wanted to correct my answer, taking account the last 2 days, again, presenting teledriving as a technology. So the biggest challenge for us has been explaining that it's not autonomous. What's the difference with autonomous? Why teledriving is for today and autonomous is for other applications, and the main message has been that please take into account where and in what use cases one or another technology is used. So explaining, but luckily we have done it already the last 5 years, and today remotely controlling something has become one of the hottest technologies in transport sector. And as you can see, I was invited here, so also telcos are talking about it. A little bit about the future. I like to keep everything simple. Ideally, we would like to have one SIM card at every car without any special network provider. Ideally, one partner who can secure the best network, best but optimum network in that location. That would be the wet dream. But another thing to add, we would like to also that the network provider or our partner who provides network for us is ready to provide also insurance. That if our car drives with a speed of 50 kilometers per hour, or on a highway, our record is 115 kilometers per hour, that if we are priority, then we will get the network needed, because we cannot afford any mistakes. So if someone is willing to bet with us and taking the risk, that would be our dream, and I see that it happens in the future.
I love that challenge, and I would love to work with you to solve it, so that's great. Adnan, you use a lot of AI in your platform. How do you see that shaping further into the future? What are the kind of use cases, technologies, and approaches, and how do you see the role of the network APIs in that evolution?
Right, so I think the network APIs are not the end application itself, right? Like whether you're talking about KOD, that's not an application service, end user consumable application service. When you talk about location, that's not an application. When you do device status, that's not an application. So what we're looking at is really top-down approach. And top-down means think about the industry vertical solution that is needed. Start at that point. What is the healthcare? Whether it may be in healthcare, maybe it's in tourism, maybe it's in transportation, maybe it's in security and surveillance. That's the use case that requires domain expertise and knowledge. Start with that. Then once you get into that, then you say, okay, what are the components and pieces do I need to go and address a need that exists in a specific industry vertical? So let's say when we talk about maybe monitoring at a large venue like this, as an example, there may be multiple cameras installed here. Now, if there's a crowd control situation happening, if there's too many people in a given area, or if the cameras have detected that there's fire or smoke that just came up over here. So now that use case will require some AI analytics from a video analytics perspective. The camera feeds need to be sent to a place where machine vision or computer vision AI algorithms can be run, inferencing can be run in real time to detect certain things that are happening in real time in those video feeds. Now, once you detect that there's an event that has occurred, let's say the cameras has detected there's a fire detected in the platform, then we're going to go and say, now reserve the bandwidth in this network for that location so that that's an important event. Use the QoD API, determine the location of the status, and make an outbound phone call and an SMS message to the security staff for this venue, and also call the fire department and send them a link, a URL. They can watch those video feeds now live. That what is actually occurring live at this, and reserve the bandwidth and resources of the network to address that. So I think that's where we're using AI analytics, whether it's in computer vision or in audio, as well as a specific industry vertical where there's a need, and then the network, programmable network APIs that actually make the application use case robust and useful.
Thanks, Adnan.
Yeah.
Alex, when you are building the network API ecosystem for the future, how does the future look like?
Yeah. So I think in terms of challenges, I think in the past couple of years, really the main objective has been get the supply side ready, get the networks ready to be able to support this type of capability. And then what I see right now is the challenge and honestly opportunity is awareness and education outside of the telco industry. I think for all of us, we talk network APIs all day, every day. When I go talk to developers and engineers in industries outside of the telco world, and I say network APIs, they don't really know what I'm talking about. They think it could mean managing your AWS infrastructure. It could mean any number of different things. So right now, my objective is help educate the developer ecosystem and get them bought into this vision. And I think that will unlock a huge number of opportunities, whether it's AI being able to consume these APIs as developers are changing how they're writing code and building applications, or really the possibilities are endless. But right now, we just need to start educating the broader ecosystem outside of the telco world of what network APIs are.
All right, thank you. Great insights there again. Do we have a time for an audience question? I think we were promised some possibility for that. No? Yes?
I don't.
I think that might be no. So, so then we'll be respecting that, and then we'll close the panel. And I thank the panelists a lot for all your great insights and collaboration here. And hopefully we can have a networking discussion here or elsewhere in Barcelona. If you have any audience have questions, come talk to us and. In detail and more. So thanks for everybody, and thanks for the panelists.